we also need to improve the general policing in the system. We have to take use of technology which is available. For example, today one of our organizations called NTRO has a very excellent equipment for carrying out interception of communications that takes place between the terrorist and its handlers in Pakistan. We need to improve the quality so that we are able to eavesdrop on lots of communication which takes place between the terrorist and its handler. In addition to that, we have to computerize all our intelligence network so that one piece of information which comes with one agency is able to be given to the others quickly. Otherwise, there have been occasions when a good piece of information was not passed on to the user agencies in time. In addition to this, whenever we are able to catch terrorists or terrorist suspects, the investigations in all these cases must be finished off in a very fast time frame. One example of how not to handle terrorist cases is 1993 blast, which till to date people who have been prosecuted and who are being tried in the court of law have still not been punished. As a result, out of number of suspects who were caught, nearly 20 to 25% have died because of old age, and 25% only are going to be punished at the end of it. So we need to have a system in which investigation and prosecution is able to be finished in not more than 1 to 2 years. Thereafter, we require a system of justice which is very fast, so that in 1 year we are able to finish off the court procedures of a suspect caught in terrorism. Just to give an example, in America they finish trials, all terrorist trials, like Dr. Fay or the person James Hadley, who was caught in exactly 1 year's time and they've been punished. Even Tababur Rana's case also, they finished trial exactly in 1 year. Even in our country, when Indian Army carries out court-martial of its own personnel, the most complicated trials have been finished off in about 1 to 2 years. We need to improve our court procedures so that trials are carried out fast. The next important thing is there are lot of litigations which are launched against police and by human rights organizations, where 98% of such accusations are always false. These cases are launched against police and against paramilitary forces so as to ensure that their efficiency drops down and they do not get after the terror suspect. We need to improve on our law so that a law like Prevention of Terrorist Act must be put in its place. We need to have a tough law while dealing with terrorist activities. In addition to this, there are a lot of NGOs which today are carrying out radicalization of societies. There are countries like Saudi Arabia, Syria, Libya, who are supplying thousands of crores of rupees to the NGOs based in India who have carrying out program of radicalization. We need to ensure that any money which comes from these Arabian countries and from certain charities outside is accounted for properly and spent only under the watchful eyes of our security agencies. No direct money should be allowed for any NGO which is preaching radicalization. In fact, Prime Minister of the country himself had said that literally thousands of crores have been given to the NGOs which are responsible for stopping development work in our country. The next thing which we need to do is the role of common man. Whatever number of policemen we increase or we increase the number of other security agencies, still it is not going to be possible to guard every nook and corner of this country. For this, citizens' participation in protecting its own area is important. For example, if you have to guard our railway stations, then one solution is railway stations today is surrounded by shops, it is surrounded by some people who are permanently there, like the coolies, like the beggars, like the workers who are there. Everybody, if he keeps his eyes and ears open and is able to inform security agencies of any untoward object or any person who looks suspicious, obviously the threat to our own establishment can be reduced considerably. So what is important is every adult man and women must become eyes and ears of our security agencies so that our net of surveillance is spread as wide as possible so that terrorists do not dare to carry out bomb blast in our area. One such good example of an alert citizen has been Dagdushet Halwai Ganpati, which is there in Pune. A terrorist had come to place bomb there. One alert shopkeeper who was selling flowers in that area saw it and told that terrorist not to place the bag there. Therefore, a bomb blast which could have taken place around this mandir was avoided because of this alert person. And similar are the cases in which some alert people, especially in Ahmedabad and all, were able to avoid bomb blast. So what is required today is alert citizens in addition to the security agencies. Another thing which we need to do is, despite all the precautions that we take, what is the role of a citizen before a bomb blast takes place, while a series of bomb blasts is taking place, and after a bomb blast have taken place. If you divide this bomb blast into these three separate phases, then before the bomb blast, our role is to ensure security of the area, security of your own house, security of your own gully or lane in which you are staying, security of your own establishment where you are working. You keep your eyes and ears open, you will be able to keep it secure. Now suppose despite all the precaution a bomb blast takes place, then what you do? The moment a bomb blast takes place, generally 1 to 2 bomb blasts are likely to take place simultaneously or near simultaneously. The moment a bomb blast takes place, one should not get scared because second bomb blast will take place definitely after some time. What we need to do is firstly take out old people, young children and women from that area and get the area surrounded by volunteers so that police are able to come there as quickly as possible and carry out investigations as to how the bomb blast is taking place. Should some injured person be lying there, obviously the important thing to do is ensure that he is immediately given first aid and then is taken to the nearest hospital so that he is able to survive. What is important is giving first aid to the injured people there itself. What has to be understood is when a person is injured in a bomb blast, the possible cause of his succumbing to the bomb blast injuries is because of 3 things. One is the shock that he gets that he has been caught in a bomb blast. The shock effect can be removed by telling him that you are not seriously injured, giving him mental support. Second is stopping his blood loss. Invariably, a lot of people die because blood starts flowing out and then you get drained out. So the thing to do is just apply some kind of a bandage so that the blood loss is stopped as much as possible. And the third thing is thereafter, by the quickest possible means, rushing to an hospital where he comes under a care of a surgeon by which he can be saved. If you just do these 2-3 activities, number of injured people, their lives can be saved. Now what do you do after a bomb blast, say 6 days or 7 days after a bomb blast is taking place? Generally in a bomb blast, 15, 20, 30 families get affected that their breadwinner gets killed, important people in the family get killed or injured, they require rehabilitation. So your responsibility as a responsible citizen is to ensure that the injured is given financial help, he is given moral support. Should the breadwinner be killed, the other member of the family is able to support the family till the time he becomes adult, thereby providing him all kinds of support. So if you look after these families or the victims of terrorist violence, then you can help them to settle in their life much faster than what it is happening now. So these are the things in which a common citizen can help if a bomb blast takes place in our country. But what is most important is to ensure that all of us, irrespective of the profession in which we are, we must spend at least 5 to 10 minutes every day in thinking about various national security problems which we are facing in the country, and thereafter becoming eyes and ears of security agencies in our area. With this, we will be able to reduce our casualties because of terrorist attacks. In addition to the bomb blast and 26/11 kind of attack, there are many other forms of terrorism which is taking place in the country. We need to understand all these aspects so that we can take countermeasures to ensure that these do not take place. One very serious issue is the radicalization of society and the communal riots. Luckily, the Indian media has been very active on this issue. How to stop communal riots and how to stop radicalization of society, there are adequate number of articles and information available on this subject. What is important is that security agencies remain alert to the threat of communal riots and take adequate proactive countermeasures to ensure that the communal riots are kept to minimum. In addition to this, there is a caste violence which took place. One such case was the Gujjar agitation which took place in Rajasthan, Jat agitation which took place in some parts of the country, and so on and so forth. While every community has its own share of problems which need to be redressed, but the agencies need to be aware of what is the kind of a problem that can break out next, so that immediate countermeasures are taken to stop the violence that takes place because of these activities. The next issue is the organized crime. While crime, law and order is a separate subject dealt by the police, but what we are talking about here are the linkages of crime with terrorist activities. And one immediate example that comes to your mind is Dawood Ibrahim, who is basically a gangster involved in smuggling. He was the person who was responsible for 1993 blast. In fact, the Pakistanis can be credited to have delegated this kind of a bomb blast to, instead of giving it to the terrorists, they have given it to the crime syndicates which already exist in the country. This is basically privatizing terrorism. So while it is important to stop bomb blasts, we must keep a tag of crime which is taking place, and especially those criminals who are involved in helping terrorists, so that this help which is available to them is stopped. In addition to this, a lot of NGOs today are subverted. They get help from anti-national forces. In fact, there are many agencies outside which ensure that a person with an anti-national bent of mind or an NGO with an anti-national background is given monetary help, given certain recognized awards, so that he becomes a celebrity in the country, and thereafter a lot of importance is given to him even when what he is talking is anti-national in nature. Another problem is subverted media. Luckily, this number is small, but especially in affected states like Northeast and Kashmir and certain terrorist related activities, there are certain individuals who have become mouthpiece of terrorists or mouthpiece of subversive oblique such kind of activities. We need to identify such elements who have an anti-national bent of mind, and they require to be dealt with under the laws of the land. There are certain subverted elements which have infiltrated into some government organizations, especially in affected states like Kashmir, certain affected areas of Naxalism, and certain affected states affected by insurgency in the northeast. We need to identify these elements and remove them from the government organizations so that only people with nationalist outlook are today employed in government organizations. Another important issue is RDDs or radiological dispersal devices. You would recall that 2 or 3 years back, a firm which had imported certain scrap from one of the European countries found that there was a radiological activity in that, and 3 or 4 people in Delhi were killed because of radioactive emissions. We need to have a proper law control over getting this radiological waste into our country. Another problem is cyber terrorism. It was reported in the newspaper that the website of Ministry of Defense was hacked, the National Security Advisor's thing was hacked, PMO sites were hacked. Today, China is using a very large army of hackers who hack into our sites, disfigure our site, or at times even replace the site information with the information which is anti our country. There are a lot of things which we can do, certain passive means and certain active means to stop various activities of cyber terrorism. One such an act of cyber terrorism last year was during the Kokrajhar violence which took place in Assam, with just sending threatening SMS, 5 to 6,000 Northeast Indians who were working in Pune and Bombay ran away because they were threatened by threatening SMS. This is another example of carrying out terrorist activity by just spending 50 paisa, because an SMS costs less than 50 paisa. So in fact, when such a kind of a terrorist activity takes place, either threatening emails or threatening SMSs or such kind of a thing, it is very easy to find out as to who did it. But unluckily, while it was well known as to who had sent the SMS, hardly anybody who sent these SMSs in Pune and Bombay was punished. This is because of appeasement policies which our government follows in many such cases. In addition to this, there are a lot of vulnerable targets lying in our country which require to be protected. 2 sets of targets which are important are the nuclear installations, many of which are located on the coastline. For example, a nuclear reactor at Trombay. Now, if a 26/11 kind of an attack, if it had taken place on Trombay instead of the hotels, how serious it would have been. Of course, our security agencies are more than capable of taking leads, but we need to review the security of such establishments, important establishments at regular intervals, so that we are able to keep them secure from terrorist activities, especially the nuclear reactors which are located on the coastline. We have a lot of maritime assets inside the sea. The ones that come to your limelight straight away is basically the oil platforms of Bombay High and the oil pipelines which we have laid near all major ports, so that big ships are able to pump oil directly with the help of pumps into the refineries which are on the land. We need to guard these also well by carrying out patrolling, etc., so that such vital installations are always secure from terrorist threats. There is another subversive activity which can take place is sinking of ships in a busy harbour. Today, the lane of Bombay harbour is very narrow, and let us say if a big ship sinks there, then that will ensure that the commercial activity in this harbour comes to a standstill at least for some time. And you will recall that a lot of commercial activity takes place in the port of Bombay. So we have to ensure that these very large crude carriers and very big ships do not meet with an accident. For that, we have to manage traffic management system more accurately. You will recall that very recently we had an attack, one of our submarines, Sindhu Darshak, sank in the Bombay harbour. Was it because of subversion or was it a pure accident? Only the investigative agencies can tell you over a period of time. You will also recall that Vindhyagiri ship of the Indian Navy had sank in the harbour because of an accident. So we need to ensure that such accidents are kept to minimum, and should some subversive activity take place of sinking ships, etc., then that is also stopped. You will recall that in 2011, 2 ships landed up on the Zuhu beach, which was not detected by any of the layered security of Indian Navy, Coast Guard and police that we have. If these unmanned ships could reach the Zuhu beach without being stopped by anybody, it obviously shows loopholes into our security system. We need to draw correct lessons and ensure that these loopholes are plugged as early as possible. There is another threat of bioterrorism. The swine flu cases which took place. I am Brigadier Hemant Mahajan, who is put in nearly 37 years of service in the Indian Army. I was commissioned into 7th Maratha Light Infantry, one of the famous battalions of Indian Army, in June 1975. During my service, I have taken part on all the operations in which Indian Army participated from 1975 onwards. I have taken part on anti-terrorist operation in Jammu and Kashmir, anti-infiltration operations which Indian Army did again on the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. During the peak of terrorism in Punjab, we were involved in Operation Raksha in Punjab. In addition to this, I have served on the Rajasthan and the other Pakistani, Indo-Pakistan borders. I have served on the Indo-China borders, on the Indo-Myanmar borders, and we have taken part in various operations which took place, including serving in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. For all the action that we did in Kashmir, my battalion was awarded unit citation and about 19 gallantry awards. Again, when I was commanding a brigade in Jammu and Kashmir, again a lot of awards were won by my brigade. My last 4 years of my service in the Army, I joined Army War College, where I was teaching officers of the rank of colonels in the higher command course. After my retirement on 31st January 2009, I've been writing very regularly in various newspapers on various facets of national security, both in Marathi and in English. I've been taking part on various debates on the TV channels, in the Marathi TV channels, 24 hours news channels, Hindi TV channels, and also some of the English TV channels. In addition to this, we are taking part in many seminars based upon national security. I'm a member of 2 think tanks, Center for Advanced Strategic Studies based in Pune and Forum for Integrated National Security, which is based in Bombay. One is involved in talking on various facets of national security, on many talks which are coordinated by various NGOs. For my service in the Army, I was awarded Yuddha Seva Medal for the good work that I had done, a gallantry award in Kashmir. In addition, I have been awarded Chief of Army Staff's Commendation Card. Swatantra Veer Savarkar Rashtriya Smarak asked me to I am on the working committee of Swatantra Veer Savarkar Rashtriya Smarak, and on their behalf we have produced some films covering various facets of national security. The films include India's external security, that is how we should deal with China and Pakistan. Second is how should we deal with our borders during peacetime with Bangladesh, with Nepal, Myanmar and Sri Lanka. How should we look after the coastal security? We face serious internal security problems. We have covered 4 of these. These are the extent, the nationalism in our country today is increasing exponentially. How do we counter the threat of nationalism or Maoism? Kashmir proxy war is still going on. What else can we do in Kashmir? Northeast India is being converted into a Bangladesh. How do we meet the challenge of stopping Bangladeshization of Northeast? And how do we stop bomb blasts that are taking place in the rest of the country? All these films are in English. One film is in Marathi, in which we have spoken as to how do we take on the challenge of the Chinese dragon. In addition, there is one film on motivation. One young soldier, Lieutenant Vijayan Thapar, how he sacrificed his life. It's a film which will motivate the younger generation. I am sure that you will enjoy listening to these films, and you should pass it on to, you should pass on the contents of these videos to as many friends and relations as possible, so that the spirit of national security is imbibed by every citizen of the country. Jai Hind.